everybody. I'm here with Kate. Do you want to introduce yourself? Talk about where you work, what your style is, what influences you?
Yeah, sure. My name is Caitlin Hawk. I usually go by Kate though, because Caitlin sounds weird and official. Yeah, my name is Caitlin Hawk. I go by a brain box on Instagram and pretty much every other platform I'm on. I work at Double Feature Tattoo in Irwin, Pennsylvania. We're about like 45, like 50 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. What influences me?
Yeah, what's your style? Like, what would you say is your niche? I feel
Okay.
like even if you do like a traditional, not saying you do traditional, but usually everybody
Yeah,
has their own spin on stuff. So, what's your style? What
sure.
influences you and everything?
So probably up until recently, I like would consider like I called myself like neo traditional until I was at this convention over the weekend and someone was like, "Your stuff is more illustrative than it is like neo traditional type things." Because like I don't know, it's hard to put labels on things like that whenever you're just kind of like in like this weird like, oh, what is my style? Like I've definitely like I don't want to say like struggled with like putting a name to like what it is I do, but illustrative is probably like the best descriptor as to like what I would consider my art and my like tattoos. So definitely more of like an illustrative to like imaginative like vibe.
Well, how did you come up with your
Yeah.
name, by the way, on Instagram?
God. Okay. So I really don't remember. Like, I have had my Instagram since I was like in middle school. It has definitely
Oh my
become
God,
like,
I love that.
I know it's so funny. Like, a lot of it's archived now, but like, it's one of those things that's like, my Instagram has had so many different like names and whatnot. But a brain box honestly started from like there was like this YouTuber that I watched in like I don't remember who it was, but like I used to be like obsessed with like just like watching like YouTube videos and like like everyone was like that was like kind of like a thing, a really big thing for a minute. And like he said stuff that was like a brain box and I was like, "Oh, like I'm just going to name myself that on Instagram." But it first started out as like 3D brain box and like that was whenever I was just kind of in high school starting out like okay cool I'm going to post my art to Instagram and like work with I don't know trying to like be like here I am this is what I do and then it just kind of slowly evolved into like a brain box and I just kind of stuck with it. It's really kind of funny. I don't know.
No, I like it. It's
Yeah.
unique. So you talked about how in high school you were making art. Did you know in high school you wanted to be a tattoo artist? Like, what was your journey and your goal with art?
Oh, so I've literally only ever been I don't want to say like good at art, but like it's all I've really ever known and I've felt like a connection with throughout my entire life. Like my mom has like thousands of freaking like just like pictures that I drew. She probably threw like so many more of them away just like growing up and whatnot. Like I've always been more kind of secluded to myself, but like I was always creating, whether it would be like painting or drawing or coloring or whatever. It is the only thing that has remained like very consistent in my life. I suppose
Mhm.
it is more so just like yeah I was like okay sure I was like yeah this is my hobby this is what I do and there was like a good bit of time where I was like I don't know what I want to like pursue as a job. Tattoo artist honestly was never like one of those jobs that I could like see myself doing in high school because like I don't know they teach you in high school like oh yeah like find yourself like a niche and then like keep your hobbies to yourself because like you don't want to like combine the two and I was like yeah like okay I was really dead set on like doing something else and then I went to college after high school for I started out as a graphic design major and then I transferred into a fine arts major. And this was just at like a small local community college. I didn't really do more than that because COVID happened. And then I just kind of slowly like branched out and started getting tattoos. And then I would like question the artist that I was getting tattooed. And I was like, oh, like I have a portfolio. Like, and then I started really studying and like kind of like taking it upon myself to be like, oh, like I'm gonna like treat like this is just like a different class like and I would like really learn about the history of tattooing learn about like what makes a tattoo that kind of stuff and then I eventually went and like showed my portfolio to like the artists that were like kind of like telling me how they did it, what they did, and I was like, yeah, I really fell into it, honestly. It was one of those things that I was like, yeah, like here we are. This is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that going to college and taking those classes has helped you with tattooing, like building designs and stuff like that?
Definitely. It was kind of a growing curve for me to like learn how to make a tattoo design versus just like creating like something on like a very like flat canvas, like a 2D canvas. Um, it was really hard for me to kind of understand like I don't know, like just the branch between like, oh, I can't just like slap paint on it and blend it together. Like I have to like really build the color and like kind of just like blend it and do that. I do think it did help me a lot with like perspectives and stuff like that, really learning those fundamentals of art and whatnot. I think that like it is super important to have a really strong foundation in that specifically because it will only help you move into like doing literally like transferring like that those like fundamentals to skin. And I feel like that is just like something not everybody should do because like it's like just a different way of doing it. I just think that like me personally, I feel that it is really important to have like a strong background in art and then just kind of learn from your past experiences in the like classes that you would have been in college and whatnot. So yeah.
Would you recommend people to take some college classes, not even like fully go to art college, but just to experience that? Or would you say, oh, you could learn it online?
You could definitely learn that kind of stuff online. I mean, I don't think it would necessarily hurt to like maybe go to like a local art community center if that is something your like town or like like area has to offer. Figure drawing classes are for sure like super like I don't know, typically those are like easy that to like find and whatnot. But like you can probably find pretty much anything on the internet if you looked hard enough to like be like, hey, like how to do this, like what can I do to like further myself as an artist and constantly just like I don't know, working those muscles in your brain.
Mhm.
um I know it's not necessarily as like accessible anymore because college is stupid expensive, but like if you do have like a community college and like they do offer things like art classes, it doesn't hurt, you know?
What would you say has been your biggest hurdle or struggle with tattooing? Like something that you just had to like get over?
Getting over. I have a really hard time like talking to people. I'm just a very naturally awkward person. I do have like a back, not like a background, but like I did work in like as a barista before and like a little bit during me tattooing. So I had like this like already established like customer service persona. Yeah. And that was something that like I was trying to like implement to being a tattoo artist, which I mean like it did help, but like what I find is like the most important thing to do as like in like an artist to clientele relationship is being like real. Like you kind of want to treat these people like they're your friends in a way. Because realistically you have to be with like a given person for like an hour to like 6 hours, you know what I mean? So like being able to like kind of bounce back and talk to people and like keeping it a very comfortable environment and just kind of like, you know, being able to kind of like essentially be a friend to your client past, you know, just like customer service level, like,
Mhm.
hi, how are you today? Small talk, you know? So
Yeah.
that was definitely big.
What's something that you didn't know about the tattoo industry whenever you were coming into it? Like, what's something that has like blown your mind? Like maybe about a technique you didn't know, or like just something that like not a lot of like regular people who aren't a part of the industry.
So I didn't really anticipate it being one of those things that you also had to essentially be your own hype man and also like full-time like not like influencer but like social media presence. Realizing like coming out of COVID because I didn't really know the tattoo industry.
Mhm.
I didn't know the tattoo industry before COVID. I started kind of when things were starting to reemerge after the lockdown and whatnot. So seeing it from the perspective as someone that you have to kind of really like promote yourself essentially, and like really push like out there like this is what I'm doing, this is my art, trying to have people come in while working at a shop that was appointment only. So I apprenticed at a shop that was appointment only. We were kind of in a secluded little part of the area. I wasn't working directly in Irwin at the time. A main thing, it was really difficult to kind of get that not like exposure, but like be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, I'm starting this out, like what can I build off of from that. So like it was really difficult for me to like find my place in this like gigantic industry that you were like thinking of like as like, oh, every shop is a walk-in shop, every shop is like people will just kind of come in and be like, put this flower on my wrist, you know. It wasn't like that. That was one of the biggest things that I like didn't know about. I was like, oh, like I guess there are people that just do appointment only type things. It's not just a constant revolving door of people in every shop, you know. Not to say that there isn't shops out there that do that. But yeah, that's definitely one of the bigger things that comes to mind right now.
Yeah, you were talking about social media, and I know from experience myself and talking to fellow artists, we're so mean to ourselves. We'll like go and then compare ourselves to our friends or like just random people we find on social media who have been doing it either a shorter amount of time than us or like the same time, and we're like, God, I suck, I want to die. How has it been with
Oh my
social media with you? Like, I think that you're great at social media. Like, I suck at it. I think I do at least, but I think you do a pretty good job. And how has that been, balancing your mental health?
So honestly, social media is a cesspool. I truly believe that like it is a great asset, but it also has like it's really like, you know, like the dark gross side of everything that there could be. I do fall victim to comparing myself. I mean, that's kind of just a natural thing. I feel like everybody does. Um because like I'll sit there and I'll like zoom in on every little thing and be like, oh my god, I didn't wipe that ink away, or oh, this line is like a little wobbly. And I mean, like I feel like that's just like truly everything. Everyone does that. So like I'm just like, it's just silly.
Have you had any issues with people over social media, like especially being a female tattoo artist?
Yeah. So I have like it's not as often as I feel like would happen, but it always finds its way. Like there's always gonna be creeps. There's always gonna be just like weirdos trying to like either get a reaction or they're just being creeps, you know? So like I recently, and I think that you saw it, I recently had
Yeah.
someone come into my freaking like email and just be like, hey, do you like, you're really really gorgeous, do you want to like go like on a date to a haunted house? And I was just kind of like, don't do that, that's so weird. Like I truly like I don't really initiate into like with that kind of stuff. I'm just like, okay, you're just gonna go to spam. Like I'm not one to like really, I don't want to say I'm not like one to be confrontational, but like yeah, I don't do that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, all right, you're a freak, bye.
I've had problems like even before I started booking. I have problems with guys texting me about like wanting to do a tattoo, and then they've turned the conversation into being like, let's go on a date, let's go to a coffee shop. And I'm like, you are like my dad's agent. I don't know you. This is a business account. Like, what are you doing?
Seriously. It's definitely a issue, and I feel like that is something that just kind of comes with being a woman in this industry. There is definitely a like women for sure have their place in this industry, and they have been, I don't want to say like proving themselves, but it has been shown that it's like, wow, yeah, like this is a crucial part to this industry. And there's just a lot of people out there, whether it be like just your average Joe or like anybody in the industry as is, it's like there's still going to be those creeps, you know, like they're going to be everywhere. And I feel like you can either, I don't want to say like us as women have to like protect ourselves, but it's more so just like you deal with it to the capacity you feel comfortable with. But ultimately it just kind of comes to like more of like a gigantic society issue. And I mean, we just kind of have to like everybody everybody just has to kind of like work to be better and like decent, you know what I mean? And like really kind of like work with each other versus against each other.
So you've dealt with like creepy clients. Have you dealt with any like other tattoo artists who have been a little misogynistic or anything?
Oh, sure. In this area, I truly have, it's like a very equal kind of ground with a lot of people. I personally haven't really dealt with many like tattoo artists who view me as lesser just because I'm a woman. I work in a shop with men, like everyone's a guy there aside from me, but like it's one of those things that I truly like. You could go down to the shop down the street and like people are going to be accepting. Like they're not going to be like, "Oh, you're like a woman, get the hell out of here." Like, you know, it's not that kind of issue. I'm sure that they exist. It like that kind of like person exists in the area, but like I have never really dealt with it.
What is your favorite place to tattoo and what's your favorite things to tattoo?
My favorite things to tattoo are anything like horror related. I love a good horror movie. I'm very inspired by anything like with horror media. I find it to be like the most fun because like not only is it already kind of like a built-in like talking subject with your client, but like then you can just like branch off out there, you know. My favorite place on the body to tattoo is like literally arms and legs. Those are like the best. But I don't mind doing like sternum type things. Like I think those are kind of fun. I did those a lot whenever I was learning. And I kind of, I don't want to say I pride myself, but like I do kind of pride myself in being like, yeah, like I could do that for you. Like, no worries.
You did sternum
Um,
tattoos when you were learning? Oh my god.
yeah, very small ones, but like it was one of those things like, oh, okay, I guess I'll learn and do that. I mean, whenever I first started tattooing, I was under a mentor who was like, yeah, you're just going to try everything. Like, how better to learn than to do? So, like, I just kind of like went with it, you know? And I mean, granted, there probably is some pretty weird tattoos out there of mine, but like, you know, you work with it. It's just kind of how it is.
Do you like going to conventions or guest spotting anywhere? What's been your favorite place you've traveled to?
Oh, I do love going to conventions. I recently just got back from a convention in Hagerstown. That was super fun. It was the Great Appalachian Tattoo something. I'm so bad. It's like escaping me. But no, yeah, I love going to conventions. I love the community conventions have to offer. I love that it's like literally just like a weekend full of like-minded people doing the same thing. And like I don't know, it really kind of helps you like meet people and like I don't want to say network because that sounds weird, but like literally networking. I think it's super great for people who want to learn. So like whenever I first was I guess like exposed to a tattoo convention, it was about 6 months into me tattooing. Yeah, 6 or 7 months into me tattooing, and I was like tattooing at this convention, and it was like such a weird like it was so weird. It was such a different experience for sure. Like I was like, "Oh wow, like I have to pick up all of my stuff and move it elsewhere, like and work there for the weekend." It was so strange, but also like really fun. I haven't had a terrible time at a convention. I like being able to like kind of go up and see what other people are doing like in the flesh, how they do it, what they're doing. And then like you can talk to them too. So it's just like wow, like a constant like hive mind of knowledge. And it's so cool. Um, I haven't really done many guest spots, but I am doing my first guest spot this week in Martinsburg at Drawing Attention. I am really excited about that. It's super cool. I haven't really gone anywhere farther than like the tri-state area. I guess my favorite convention that I did was this past one in Hagerstown in Maryland. That was super cool. It was just full of like a bunch of like really skilled artists from all different walks of life, like talk to so many people. The event organizers are amazing. Like love them. 10 out of 10. Couldn't have gone smoother. I mean, granted, with every kind of like convention, I feel like there's always like one event that kind of happens that's like, oh wow, like okay, like this is the talk of the weekend. And like this weekend, like that the past weekend, it was a like I guess like there was some sort of like grease fire that happened.
Oh.
And I mean, we all had to like stand outside in the cold. It was so weird. At the same time, I don't think anything really happened. I think it was just kind of like a false alarm. It was weird.
What is your
Eh?
process with tattooing, like from start to finish? And like, what are your favorite products to use? What inspires you while you're doing that process? Like, even just creating the drawing for your client.
My process is, if it is something that is like a custom drawing, I do a lot of custom works. I like to do that more because I like being able to fill in spaces on people's arms between other tattoos that makes it look natural, you know, that kind of thing. So I will always start out with like a very detailed, like where do you want it, what do you want it, like is there anything that you specifically want to have incorporated, like colors, anything like that. um References are always like a key to me. If they like want like a specific flower or like a specific like shot from a horror movie, I'm always like, okay, cool, like send all of that my way, and then I'll kind of compile it and do like one big collage on like the Procreate app, because like at this rate everybody uses Procreate if you're a tattoo artist. So like it's one of those things that I will like essentially make a collage, and then I will draw like next to it, and then just kind of like work with it. Like I will sit with like either horror movies on in the background, or I'll listen to like music. Music is definitely one of my like crucial things to have while tattooing. I have to be in an absolute vibe to tattoo. So yeah, I'll put like a movie or music on in the background, and then I'll just kind of sit with it about like a week before the actual tattoo is scheduled for. And then whenever it's like the day or two before, I'll like revisit it and like tweak anything that I'm like, oh, like I don't like this about that. Like I don't know what I was thinking. So like I would go back in and like make any last minute like renders to the final piece. And then come in the next day and clean up, set up, do that type of thing, and then we'll get to it.
Have you had a client been like, oh, whatever you want to do?
I have. I've actually done this a few times now that I'm thinking about it. There was one time that like I I don't really work really well with like having like a huge broad spectrum. Like if they give me like one or two words, I'll definitely work with it. I'll have somebody give me like one or two words, and then I'll like ask them for where they want it, because like I said, I really like having that knowledge beforehand. I mean, as anybody does, but I like drawing to the skin. And then I will, but yeah, so like I had this person specifically give me like, oh, they wanted like a demon and like a lady, but like we put the demon lady together obviously, and then we just kind of blasted their shin with like this really sick like demon lady head. I really like doing lady heads. I think that's super fun. I like making like, I don't want to say necessarily like pinups, but like pinups are always so much fun to do.
What has been like, what was your first tattoo? How did you feel about it? Like, were you really nervous when you did it?
Yeah, I very vividly remember being like I was shaking like the entire time, because like obviously tattoos hurt. My first tattoo I ever did was on myself, and it's like this little brain that I did on like a flash sheet that I was like practicing like all like on fake skin and fruit and stuff like that. So like yeah, I was just like, okay, I did this design like 6 times. Let's just put it on my body. And my mentor at the time, like she sat with me for a little bit, and then she just kind of like walked away. And I was like, oh, okay. But she was like, you got this, you got this. It's no worries. And I was like, oh, okay. It's on my ankle. I would show you, but it's super cute. I love it. It's a little brain. We did like line work and color at the same time. I think it was a pretty solid stab at the first try. But other than that, like my first tattoo on like other skin, which is like a lot different than tattooing yourself, is like on my cousin Garrett. It's like this like Polaroid camera with like a little picture coming out
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
it. It's super cute. I'm just like, it in hindsight, it's an attempt, but I don't know. I think it's fun to like see him, and it's like, oh yeah, that's rad. We did that.
Would you ever think about like redoing it or anything or touching it up in the future or just you want to leave it because it preserves like this was one of my first?
So we did touch it up beforehand. Not beforehand. We already did touch it up already. Um, but like I like to think that it's like still preserving a lot of its like character from whenever we did it initially. It was just kind of like, like filling in a little bit of like the black that we didn't get to, or like I didn't pack in enough. A lot of the lines were needed to be redone, but I think it's a solid attempt for what it was.
Yeah. What was your biggest hurdle when you started tattooing? Like what was like for me right now, I feel like it's my line work. I just want to get better at lines and what was it like for you?
I had a really hard time like shading up to the line. Like I was so scared of over shading the line that like I would like have like this weird little like halo like between like me shading like red to up to the line. So it would always like look like, I don't know, it would always look like there was like another line of like just like skin break around the inside of the tattoo. So like that was one of my biggest issues because I was just like scared of overshading. But now I feel like I've obviously gotten past that. But line work was definitely a really hard hurdle for me to get over too. Um, Really just learning how to position the machine, because like it's not like you're holding a pen. Like I mean, I guess it kind of is depending what kind of machine you're using now, but like at the time I was learning on this something Spectraflux, I think. I don't remember the exact name of it, but
Was it a coil or a rotary machine?
a rotary. I have never tattooed with a coil, but at this moment, like I'm like eager. I'm so eager to learn. I want to know how to do it. I want to know how it operates. I want to learn how to like assemble machines and whatnot. So I've been kind of like deep diving that and like trying to like feed my brain with like all of the knowledge about coils and stuff like that. But I've only ever learned on rotaries.
What has been your best client experience thus far?
Okay, so there was like this entire family that came in, that there was like literally like son, daughter, like son and daughter's like significant others, mom, dad, grandma, like several aunts. And I was like they all were like, okay, we're gonna book out your entire day, and if you can just like do a bunch of small tattoos on us. It is like so sweet in hindsight to think about, because like it was just like, like they're all like kind of like, all right, cool, we're just gonna kind of like filter through the shop and then like come and go, so we're not like overwhelming everybody. But like at this point in time, like we had like a decent sized like guest area, like I guess waiting room, duh, that like they could all just kind of come in. So it was really sweet to kind of like have them like kind of hyping each other up and really hyping me up, and like they really made it like they made me feel like I was like a part of the family in a really like wholesome way. The ultimate goal of that day was they were really trying to like get their like 80 something year old grandmother to get her first tattoo. And I was just like, I would have her go through the process. Like she like sat there behind me, like seeing how like I would tattoo other people. They would like kind of tell her how it felt the whole time. And needless to say, she was the last person that I tattooed. And she sat there and cried. And we all just cried because it was
Oh,
just so freaking wholesome. It was so sweet. They were so good to me. Like, but like, that is just like something that kind of like really stands out to me. Like, and they were like, "Do you want to like come get pizza with us after?" And I was like, "Sure." We all like got pizza. It was really cute.
that is so sweet. Do you make any art outside of tattooing that's just for yourself, like any pottery, drawing, or like any painting? Because you said you used to paint.
Yeah, I love to paint. I don't necessarily do it as much anymore, but it's something that I do work towards. I have like a lot of unfinished like started paintings. I love D&D. I love Dungeons and Dragons. So like I love like building characters. I love drawing characters. I love just like the whole aspect of like having like this whole other world and like persona. I think it's really geeky, but it's really cute and fun. And I think it's a great way to like get your creative juices going. Because like I honestly find that whenever I am playing D&D, we only play like D&D like every couple weeks, so probably like every month now that I'm thinking about it. But whenever I sit there, I always end up pumping out some really cool flash or something. So like I'm just like, okay, cool. It's just like an in-person podcast.
No, that's super awesome. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I grew up playing it. Me and my sister, we'd find groups and go and play. It's the fucking best.
Oh, it's such a good time. And it's such a great community. I'm so glad that it's kind of becoming like a mainstream thing because I feel like everybody plays it now. And I'm like, yes, talk to me about it.
Have you done a Dungeons and Dragons tattoo?
Yeah, I've done a really cool like displacer beast on like, oh, I don't remember his name, but like it's his like whole upper arm. He originally wanted it to be like smaller, so I drew it to be smaller, but then he was like, "Can we actually make it bigger? Because this is so cool." So yeah, I did that. I did this really cool like a mimic like slot machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, slot machine. I did a really cool mimic slot machine, and that was fun to do. But other than that, I've only ever done like probably like little D20s, stuff like that.
I think my last question for you, because we've blasted through everything, is for anybody listening out there who wants to get into tattooing, do you have any advice for them? Anything that you wish you would have known?
Branch out and talk to other artists. Typically, people will be very open and willing to like help you, especially if you are just learning or like you're trying to like find like your place in the community. I don't think tattoo artists are necessarily as scary as they probably used to be to people because I feel like at this point in time, I feel like everybody has at least one tattoo. So like I don't know whether you can like just ask like your friends which artists they go to and then like reach out to them on Instagram or like go get a tattoo them yourself. Like I feel like getting tattooed is like so crucial and like getting tattooed by more than just like one person because like everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different like upbringing. Literally everybody has like just different experiences that like can either help you or like have you like cautious for what could possibly be something you face. Having like a great support system also helps, whether that be like friends or like other artists or like even your family or anything like that. Having like a support system to really back you on what you're doing and how to do it, whether it be like, oh, how can I like make my line work a little bit more solid or like just having like someone to vent to about like a nightmare client that came in that day or something. Like I feel like it's super important to just be like vocal about your experiences in this community because not only will it kind of open up a conversation about like things that need to be talked about, or it is one of those things that's just like, oh, opening up a conversation that is just like kind of like keeping yourself like confident because like at the end of the day like you are your biggest hype man alongside those who you decide to surround yourself with. And if you are in a place that isn't like welcoming or like helpful, then definitely like go and find somewhere else to be because ultimately like you are a product of what is around you and like you can either use that to help or just kind of not, you know?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. You did
Yeah.
amazing. I appreciate you being on here. You want to say your Instagram username and where you work again?
Yeah, my name is Caitlin Hawk. I go by a brain box on Instagram and pretty much everywhere else. And I work at Double Feature Tattoo in Irwin, Pennsylvania.
Yay, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.